Today, we're going to tackle something that feels like it's pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie, building an AI that can literally speak your thoughts. And you know what the best part is? We're going to build a simulation of how this works, and you don't need to know any code at all. So yeah, let's get started and basically build the future, right now.
Seriously, just take a second and think about that. A world where you don't have to move your lips or even type on a keyboard to communicate. It's just a seamless bridge from your mind straight out into the world. It's an incredibly powerful idea, and maybe a little startling too.
So, the big question is this just Hollywood fantasy, or are we actually on the verge of making this reality? Well, the truth is, all the building blocks are already here, and believe it or not, scientists are working on this exact problem as we speak.
Okay, first things first, let's talk about the why. Why even do this? Because this kind of technology is so much more than just a cool, futuristic gadget. It has the potential to fundamentally change people's lives. I mean, the possibilities here are just mind-blowing. For someone with a condition like ALS or locked-in syndrome, this isn't a cool feature. It's a lifeline. It's everything. But it also expands into fun stuff, like entertainment. Imagine controlling your video game character just by thinking, jump. Or think about education. You could think in English and have an AI speak it out loud in Japanese. It even opens up this wild possibility of having completely private, silent conversations.
So how in the world does this actually work? Well, it's not magic, not at all. It's all about technology that can listen in on the tiny electrical signals that are constantly firing inside our brains.
The key piece of tech here is called an EEG, which stands for electroencephalogram. Just think of your brain as this super complex electrical grid. Every single thought, every memory, every feeling you have, it all creates these little electrical sparks. An EEG is basically a device, usually a headset, that can measure those electrical patterns from right outside your skull. Now, it can't read your specific thoughts like, I really want a coffee right now. But what it can do is capture the patterns linked to your different mental states.
So these EEGs, they pick up on different brain rhythms or waves, depending on what's going on in your head. For example, you've got alpha waves when you're feeling relaxed, beta waves pop up when you're really focused and alert, theta waves are for when you're daydreaming, and gamma waves kick into high gear when you're doing some serious problem solving. An AI can actually be trained to recognize these patterns and link them to specific commands or ideas.
Okay, so we can measure brain signals. That's cool. But how do we get from those messy, raw signals all the way to a clear spoken sentence? Well, it all boils down to a pretty simple three-step AI pipeline.
So here's the process. This is the crucial part. First, you need an input. In the real-world version, that's an EEG headset capturing your brainwaves. But for our tutorial today, we're just going to simulate this with some text. Second, you need processing. This is where the AI really works its magic, taking those messy signals and translating them into clean language. And finally, step 3, you have the output. A text-to-speech service takes that text and speaks the words out loud. Input, process, output. Simple as that.
All right, and now for the really fun part. We're going to build a simulation of this entire pipeline right now. And I promise you are not going to write a single line of code. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can do this.
Here's our 4-step game plan. First, we're going to simulate a thought by just typing it out as text. Easy enough. Then we'll use an AI like ChatGPT to process that thought and rephrase it into natural spoken language. After that, we'll use a text-to-speech service to actually give it a voice. And finally, the coolest part, I'll show you how you can automate this entire chain.
Now this prompt is basically the magic wand for step 2. So you'll type in your simulated thought, something fragmented like tired cooked dinner, and then you give ChatGPT this exact prompt. What this does is it tells the AI to act as our brainwave interpreter, turning that raw, jumbled idea into something fluid and natural, like, I'm just exhausted and I really don't feel like cooking tonight. And to make this whole thing seamless, you can use these awesome no-code automation tools like Zapier or IFTTT, or heck, even the Shortcuts app that's already on your phone. You can set it up so that when you type something into, say, a Notes app, it automatically fires it off to ChatGPT, grabs the response, and then pipes that into a text-to-speech service to be read aloud. It becomes a completely hands-free pipeline.
Okay, so we've built our simulation. Pretty cool, right? Now let's zoom back out for a second and look at the bigger picture again. Where is all of this heading, and what could it really mean for all of us?
This technology is a classic double-edged sword. On one side, the hope is just immense. I mean, giving a voice back to people who've lost it, that's profoundly important. But on the other side, the hazards are pretty serious. What about privacy if someone could literally hack your thoughts? What about the accuracy? What if the AI gets it wrong? And of course, the biggest ethical question of all, who gets to control this kind of tech and how do we even begin to regulate it?
So what could the roadmap for this look like? Well, within the next decade or so, we might see simple headbands that help patients communicate basic words. Fast forward to 2040, and maybe this becomes a common tool for daily communication. And then, by 2050, we could be looking at something truly wild, like groups of people collaborating telepathically through shared AI networks. It sounds crazy, but it's a plausible path.
So let's just bring it all back to what we accomplished right here today. We took a simple text input, our little simulated thought, and we ran it through a pipeline that we built to create an AI-generated voice. Yeah, it's a simple demonstration, but it's also a powerful peek into a future where that line between our thoughts and our words could just completely vanish.
And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If this technology was perfected tomorrow morning, who should be the very first person to use it? A patient who can't speak? A scientist trying to solve climate change? An artist trying to create a masterpiece? The answer is definitely not simple, and whatever you choose says a lot about what we, as a society, really value.